Welcome to the Business Performance Podcast, where we feature expert thought leaders and cover their best strategies, stories, and advice that you can use to successfully mature your own business performance. Now, here is your host, business coach, Henry Schneider. Hello, everyone. This is Henry Schneider with the Business Performance Podcast, and today it's my pleasure to speak with Prajit Datta, who's an AI research scientist with AFRY in Sweden. So, welcome to the podcast, Prajit.
Thank you so much, Henry. It's my pleasure to be here.
So I always start out by asking my guests to give a little background about your company, your type of customers you serve, and the products and services that you provide. So you can give us a brief description of AFRY?
Yeah, AFRY, it's a Scandinavian consulting giant. This year we have completed 125 years. We are almost in every sector you can find in every businesses of Scandinavia, more specifically, and also in Europe. We are into management consulting, we are into food and pharma, we are into IT, we are into embedded, we are into automotive. You name the sector, we have the consultants. And it's quite big. A lot of opportunities are there. And the best part about being part of such a big organization is that you can develop solutions for different or maybe like a cross-cultural business segments or cross-functional business solutions. So those sort of setup gives us a big opportunity for all of us.
Okay, so given that, what do you do then as an AI research scientist for AFRY? How do you fit into that mix?
So my role actually comes in BU IT West, we say. It's in the IT solution industry and digital solutions. So in that, we are an AI team. And we try to develop AI solutions for our existing as well as the new customers, potential customers who are trying to do different sort of, or who try to adopt some different sort of AI tools like a recommendation engine, or maybe some time series data, or maybe some reinforcement learning. One of the flagship product is Flowity. It's basically an image recognition tool, and also it can object detection. So it is first of all, it's like an edge device too. It's a device which follows the GDPR protocol, and with that Flowity tool, we have developed a social distancing detector, which is very much relevant in the COVID times.
Okay. Yeah, I saw on your LinkedIn page a little video with a bunch of little people walking around. I guess they're just little figures for Flowity.
Yes.
Did that kind of models then how the people interact and moving?
Yes, absolutely. So that capability is kind of, it just follows the movement of the people, how they're moving up and all. And also from the perspective, it calculates that whether they are following up the basic distance or not. In that video only, you can see that it getting into green to yellow and then red if someone is not following social distancing norms. This type of solution is very important whenever you wanted to analyze a very crowded place, wanted the movement of people, and then someone goes and distort the crowd. Please keep some social distance between each other. So that sort of surveillance has been done without taking any sort of data in the centralized cloud. It is just done in the edge.
So do you model each little figure separately, and you see how the clusters form and they disperse? How does that work?
Absolutely. Like think about 100 people are moving around. Of course, it depends on the resolution of the camera and all, but it tries to figure out each individual and then box it. It's like marking up that individual and then following up the trajectory, how it is going up and down.
Wow.
It looks into the distance between those two marked boxes, and then it computes that whether they are following it or not.
So what do you do then if you determine that they're not following the rules and they're getting too close? What do you do with that information then?
Yeah, so basically this information, like suppose we are installing it in one sort of public place or maybe like a central station or somewhere like that. People are coming and they are creating some sort of clusters and all. Now what we'll do that we'll take some measures some sort of a service person going there and saying that maintain a social distance. Maybe we'll do something so that people don't gather there, or maybe they form a queue or something like that, which is or something like that. They form a queue or they maintain the social distance. I mean. There is one more thing we can actually kind of look into that. If it gives us a kind of a knowledge that whether is there any sort of threat we have it or not. Like sometimes we cannot analyze, right? We need people to come there to pass through the central station, but at the same time we don't want it to kind of get them so close. So based on the different sort of actions are taken on different sort of authorities in the institution. Like the same sort of setup, there was an interest came from an Indian factory where they wanted to deploy this system in a setup where the workers are queuing up to get into the bus, but they are getting so close. So maybe there will be like a serviceman or a security guard who will be keeping an eye or telling the people that please maintain the social distance. Some of the things which are not that usual in the country, or which are not that usual for the people in the country. Yeah.
All right. So how fast can you react to this information? You can model it, you can see clusters forming, but what's the response time on taking action to actually breaking it apart and having an effect on it?
The best part about this solution is it is a near real-time solution. Near real-time means like just a bit of seconds, just seconds, and it will tell you the thing. And you will get a notification on a particular dashboards that how the things are coming up and all. And based on that, now it depends on the internal organization or the organization infrastructure that how their hierarchy has been developed to take up the action. But when it comes to like a software and the raising the flag, it's pretty like it's a near real-time system, so it's just a fraction of seconds.
Okay, so on your part, you can notify them right away. And then the rest of the length of time depends upon what the customer is doing to react to this information.
There was some lag in the Zoom. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying is that from your perspective, you're giving near real time or close to real time as possible feedback. And then the delay is on the receiving end and how fast they can react to that and take actions.
Yes, we are giving them all the insights at the near real time, and now it depends on the organization hierarchy how they wanted to set it up. Though we are giving them some sort of suggestions that how they can do it, because we are trying to give some sort of an application board to the person who are working on the ground so that they can get a quick visibility who are working on the ground. So something that sort of integration we are suggesting them, but it depends on the organization interest that how they wanted to take it up.
Okay, so what is the long-term applicability of Flowity? I mean, right now you're focused on social distancing. Hopefully, we'll overcome that problem and get back to quote-unquote normal where we don't have to worry about this anymore. So what else can you do with it?
Sorry, there was a lag in the start.
Okay, all right. So again, what I'm saying is that right now you're focused on social distancing with Flowity. So what are some of the other applications of this technology? Because hopefully we won't have to worry about this anymore, or
absolutely
it'll go down.
So one of the major use case specifically for the countries like US is it can detect weapons.
Ah.
Yes, and the best part about the Flowity is suppose think like you have one camera here, you have another camera here, like as a Flowity installed in the edge device. Now you are looking into one surveillance and someone takes out a gun. Then it keeps inside the bag, like someone just takes it out and keeps it inside. Even for that person also, it will mark it that this person is having a weapon. After the moment that gun is not there, it will be marking it by the facial recognition and all.
Ah, okay.
And it will also follow the trajectory of that person to other buildings and places where it is going.
Oh, okay.
This is one of the very, what I will say, we sell Flowity as a smart surveillance system. Don't take data and follow the GDPR, and also it brings up the safety and security of the people in the public places.
So are you dealing with volumetric information, or is it just like flat? I mean, you want one camera, you're just seeing like it's 2D, or are you looking at it from a 3D perspective?
Yeah, we are looking at it from a 3D perspective. also, and we set up multiple cameras so that covers the maximum area and it doesn't create any blind spot, so that we can create the best trajectory solution or the best trajectory of the following that person who is carrying some any harmful weapon.
Okay,
So
thank you.
one of the thing.
All right, so now I kind of switch gears a little bit, and I always like to ask all my guests about this. The word quality is pretty broad and means different things to different people. So how would you define quality?
That's a really an interesting question. So for me, quality is like quality is like a benchmark, I believe. Like when there's a market benchmark is there, then how well you are delivering from that. Like if there in the market there's a set standard, and if you're going beyond that, then the more you go beyond that, then it is more high quality. That's how I see. Otherwise, the low quality goes if it is nearby to that, and but it is not crossing the threshold. I found in that way, like, because you need to compete in the market, so quality is defined by the market. The quality standards are defined by the market. It's nothing that we have a say or we will say that this is a quality. I think that's the real definition of quality.
Yeah, and I guess it's what's interesting. It all depends upon your perspective. If you're in a big company, you can have a very narrow view of quality. You're looking at defects and defect density with what you're producing. But if you take a more global look, it's really the customer who's saying it. They set their expectations. If you don't meet their expectations, no matter how good it is internally, it's still not the quality that they expect out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's
all right.
What I feel.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, that's what I feel. So.
Okay. Okay. So now, when you're talking with AI, people have a lot of I guess there's misconceptions or fears of it. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions out there about artificial intelligence?
The biggest misconception is that it can kill jobs, which I don't feel in that way. I think because people think that everything is getting automated and all, and it's like a different thing, but they don't see that how well they will be enabled with more advanced tools in future, so that they don't need to do any sort of repetitive jobs and all, which require some critical thinking or creative thinking.
So how do you get people beyond that? I mean, to get over the hump, get over that fear, and actually start looking at it, because that is a very realistic and reasonable expectation that you're going to take my job away because you're going to automate it. So how do you get people over that?
So there was some hang in the call, but you are. Can you just repeat the question, please?
Sure. Yeah, I thought that maybe what's happening. So how do you get? I mean, people are fearful or have anxiety about AI because and it's reasonable because they think their job is going to be eliminated, and but it's not necessarily. It opens them up for additional creative work. So how do you get people over that fear to embrace the AI technology?
Basically, my approach is to actually educate people about it, like work with people. AI thing is not only for the IT developers, that company's strategy is going in a bit different direction, I will say. It needs to, like, you need to involve people, even if the people who are not directly related to AI, then get them involved, that what are the possibilities you can do with AI and all. What will happen that the people who are resisting about AI, they will come up with solutions, their own line of business, where we can implement a very good AI solution and increase the profits, increase the productivity and all. Now, just keeping to AI to IT team and all, then they will think that it's like a job killer or something like that. If we educate them and all, then they will think that they have got more better weapons to do the job. So it should be seen as like a complementary thing, not like a opposite way.
Okay. So I know that I've seen reports that, they're expecting the acceptance and input of AI to explode, run that hockey stick curve that within the next 10 years it'll just take off. So where is Sweden in that, in acceptance of AI? Are you leading the curve, leading the pack, or are you kind of lagging or in the middle?
I think we are leading the path, and to be very honest, after this pandemic, we have kind of accelerated the growth because digitalization, the moment of digitalization has increased quite multiple times. I think around 4 times. That's what Satya said. And yes, so we are leading ahead, and we are taking up a lot more. We are ingesting a lot more data. We are creating a lot more data. AI is getting matured. New tools are coming up, and definitely that curve what you're mentioning about, it was giving a year of 2030, but digital transformation, I think it's around 2027 or 2026.
Okay, so moved it back 3 to 4 years now, so it's going to go.
Yeah, because it's like a sudden shift. Yes, so a lot of companies have started thinking of digital, and they are taking this thing very seriously. It cannot be taken something like we can go ahead with brick and mortar.
All right, so now with the GDPR and all the privacy issues, how do you get the data? What do you have to do to get the data so you can use it for all these interesting machine learning and data mining and cognitive insights? How do you get the necessary data and not violate the security and privacy aspects of things?
Absolutely. So to address this sort of GDPR issues and all, the best way is to not take the data at all. Just get the data, run computation on that data, do some modeling, deliver results. You don't store the data in some central server and all. Or to do some sort or some part of the data which doesn't give any kind of user identification and all. Anyone cannot track about it, that who is that particular user generating that data. And that's how we can actually kind of navigate through this GDPR movement. But also I believe that a lot more laws and a lot more security layers will come up, because it's like you need to have both the best of the worlds, you know?
Yeah, I would think that initially with GDPR, I said, we want to keep this information private. And then people are going to say, oh no, I want to get that. It's going to expand in different areas as people get smarter and smarter and more mature with trying to deal with this information.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so right now, what do you perceive as the obstacles that prevent you from achieving success with artificial intelligence?
The biggest obstacle, what I personally feel, is people think AI is like another software development field, where you hire developers and they develop for you and they deliver results. Like those software development stages. Actually, AI is kind of also optimization and retraining the model and getting better with it. It's like a baby growing up as an adult.
Yeah. So
that sort of patience is not there in most of the industry, and also it requires an investment to hold that. So I understand.
Yeah, so one of the things that just keeps nagging at me in terms of like machine learning and trying to draw cognitive insights out of information is that I think there's a tendency just to take data and look for correlations without really understanding what the data is telling you. And you may not have the right factors in there that you can use. So how do you get over that? How do you actually draw the correct insights out of the information?
Henry, sorry, there was a lag in this.
Okay. All right. So what I was saying is that what's been nagging me is that when you do the analysis of the data and trying to draw these cognitive insights out of the information, if you're not knowledgeable of that subject area, people tend to just look for correlations in the data, which really have no real use other than maybe for planning. So how do you actually get past that to be able to draw real good insights into what the data is telling you?
So, very important thing, you need to understand the domain knowledge, and you need to have that. You need to have the domain knowledge. You need to, if you don't have the domain knowledge, then have some sort of business meetings with those people who are into that particular, who are related to that particular business, so that you can get the best out of it.
Mhm.
And based on that, their thought process, you can actually kind of think about for to solve that particular business case what we need, rather than directly into the correlation. And after that, you can do some sort of preliminary set of exploratory data analysis and try to figure it out. But that is not that helpful unless your vision and the business case are very much aligned.
Mhm.
So there is no other way that you cannot bypass, or you can bypass the business thing and directly jump into the technical part with data. And that will be a wrong approach also.
Okay. I would think that would take a bit of time to be able to work through that if you really don't have the domain knowledge to be able to start going. The danger is, oh, I found a correlation, therefore this is good, and you start marketing that. That can cause some problems.
Those correlations can be considered as insights, but not a machine learning thing. Machine learning requires altogether a different ball game, and those are the quick insights, and which are very much, the salespeople will love it, but nothing to develop an AI product.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite sayings is that people confuse causation with correlation, or correlation with causation. And you really need to understand the cause and effect relationships to draw the right meaningful insights of what's going on. Just because you can correlate things really doesn't mean that you've got any understanding of what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I do believe that.
Okay. All right. So can you share a story of how you helped somebody or a client to overcome their obstacles and succeed with AI?
One of the, it happened in the last year, and we are currently associated with it, is to develop the AI, conversational AI system for a hospital, Sahlgrenska University Hospital, we say, in Gothenburg. It's one of the biggest hospital chains in Sweden also, very renowned. So what we developed, a patient conversational AI platform where they can chat or they can have a voice interaction. And based on their queries, it will try to understand what sort of query it is. It is a personal or it's a public query. And based on that, the chatbot will like to respond. Now, this type of system is really important again in this pandemic time. A lot of people are in this ventilation and the ICU, and they need someone who can address that. Especially with the social distancing norms, it is not that easy to always have this line workers to be present and helping these patients out. And we successfully did it in the last October, and this solution has been again extended to meet the requirements or demands of the current situation. That is one of the things we have done.
Okay. So if you could distill that down into like 25 words or less, what would be the moral of the story?
The moral of the story for this is that, okay, so I will say the moral of the story is that AI can be your friend. So AI can be your friend in the time of need when your family members are also cannot be, they can be near to you because of social distancing now. So it can be also a good friend, not like someone who always see or look into your job to kill it.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I know that's good. Because there's always the minority report aspect where they're predicting bad things are going to happen. They try to be proactive, and that's where it gets scary. I don't want that to occur.
Yes, absolutely. And in future, it is going to happen soon that a lot of people will have a best friend. Like earlier, back in 30, 40 years back, there used to be something called pen friend. But will be someone who is an AI.
Okay, so what are some of the common pitfalls or mistakes that you need to be aware of when you start trying to introduce artificial intelligence into a company?
Like the common mistakes people do, you mean?
I mean, or something that you're faced with when you have a brand new client and you want to do some digital transformation, disrupt what they're doing and automate it with the AI. What are some of the things you got to be aware of so you don't make mistakes?
So there are two things. First of all, the digital maturity and what stage of transformation that organization is in. This is one thing. Second thing is that how much investment they can hold up for this. Because as I mentioned that this is a project which cannot give you success overnight, some time. You need to hold that. And is your organization ready to have that sort of, they have that sort of appetite to hold it up? Then definitely yes. And also very important thing, lot of AI startups, I will say, and also some of the companies, they try to push AI solutions. Recommendation engine fits, push it up. This thing, push it up. Actually, you need to do some sort of ROI analysis that how much profit you will generate, or whether it is good enough to go with that or not. Is your organization is that big of that scale that requires this sort of transformation or not? Unless you're sort of analysis, then it's then the company will not be, or the organization will not be happy with the services, right?
Right.
Because it is not like economically viable for them.
Okay. So what are the size of the companies that you're working with where you are introducing artificial intelligence? Are they smaller companies? Are they larger? Government? What?
So as I mentioned that I come from a very big Scandinavian consulting giant. Of course, we work with government. We take government research funds and do a lot of AI work. Sustainable AI is a part of that project also. We also work with big companies, automobile companies like Volvo, Scania, and a lot of big giants. And we also collaborate with mid-sized organization too. For startups and all, not that I will say, the startups who are kind of scaling up, with them we collaborate, because that sort of economic balance doesn't come up with startups with them.
Yeah, but I'm thinking in terms like governments, there's a lot of different agencies that do many different things, data rich, and I think they are somewhat reluctant to embrace artificial intelligence because it's going to disrupt things and make it, I think, crack it open to security issues. Whereas they've got their existing systems, they know really well, they've got them locked down. So what do you do to help them overcome and get beyond that?
I have a different take on that when it comes to Sweden. The governments are very much, they wanted to try out things. In the procurements and all, they mentioned a lot of, they want to try out with some emerging technology. They wanted to make the smart city. So there are sort of solutions and all that. They've also had a special research funding for AI. So it's a very different thing here. But I totally understand the people who very much blindly trust the legacy systems and how they can bring on a technology where they feel that there will be like a trust issue or something like that. But what we always try to convince in that the stage where they are in now, they have come to the stage because they have taken some step forward when they were at the back, or when there was some traditional system and all. That's the reason there is some like a traditional, or like the IT system, the legacy system, what we call now, are there in the place, right? So of course AI is the thing, and they cannot kind of escape this movement, or because the hockey stick curve, what you mentioned, that curve directly says that if you are the late adopters, then you are losing out the race.
Right. Yeah, and what's interesting is before those legacy systems were built, it was done manually. So it was a big disruption to automate this stuff. But now it's been in place for decades, and so those systems are aging, and they're trying to modernize it, but they're not. But take that extra step to really put cutting edge technology in there is somewhat scary to them, I think.
Absolutely, but what I feel that automation is nothing new. automation can be also run that if there is a script or something like a one-click solution, that is also automation. Yeah, with machine learning, everything is taken care by something called artificial intelligence brain. But what I see certainly is that whenever an AI system comes into the picture, it doesn't go and directly take up any actions. Rather than it raise some severity flags. Based on that, there is a manual intervention comes up. I don't see in anywhere in the world that they are completely leaving the AI to do everything. It's going on. But when it is open to public, what AI is doing, that there is some sort of guidance, or there is some sort of severity flags, or there is some sort of, some directions they are giving.
Yeah. I mean, there's all different aspects in there, because I know the one where you have a self-modifying code, that's pretty scary, because then you know what it was when you started, you wait for a while, now you don't know what it's doing at all because the machine is modified it on itself.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now, can you spend a few moments telling our viewers about your life and the defining moment that led you to be where you are today?
Did you just on a side note? I hope this will get edited. You have mentioned those 3 points,
Yes.
or taking up those 3 points, right?
Yes.
Okay, then I take it. So I will say that I have a vision in life, and everything is like a milestone here. There is nothing like. Of course, I wanted to kind of give back to the community. I strongly believe in giving back to the community, because it's a whole ecosystem working on for the betterment of human life. Even those 2 astronauts who flight from India, from the Earth to 1 week back, was something also they are trying to explore a different habitat in Mars, right? So it's like a collective effort. And I wanted to contribute to this movement, and based on that, there are some sort of milestones, that what sort of objectives I need to have and all. So AI is one of the milestones in my life. Like I wanted to do some sort of, because it is something like which is the upcoming thing, where we're able to create someone who is like me and can take decisions like me. So that's something like a person of interest, right? So what I can do is like some sort of small contribution and all. And when I made my mind to take that sort of career in my life, that is like, I will say, like a kind of a changing moment for me. And I'm still exploring, and the best is yet to come, I believe.
All right, thank you. Now, and kind of building on that, but slightly different, thinking about growing up, can you share an experience you had growing up that still influences how you approach business today?
Yes, absolutely. Why not? So when I was like a child and all, I used to play cricket. I'm from India, and we used to play cricket, right? So cricket is such a popular sport there. And what I realized that you need to form a 11 members team. And in the 11 players, you need to give them you need to provide equal opportunity as well as respect. So then what happened, that there will create a team bonding, and then you go forward. It also follows a code that if you wanted to go fast, then go alone. But if you want to go far, then go with the team. Now, why I'm saying this quote, I know this is like a team thing, but you're asking from a client success perspective. You don't think other party as just as a client. Think as like a co-owner with you. Because when you're developing a project, especially when it comes to an AI project, he is giving all of his body. He's sharing all of our data with you. He's like a co-player with you. He's not someone who is having some sort of give and take and business done and close. AI doesn't work in that way. You are creating something where machine is working on the data and learning from it. So it's like think that client as your friend and try to solve that business solution, because it is kind of contributing by developing a good AI product, and maybe you never know that it will be like a breakthrough thing for the mankind.
Yeah, I like that. Because a lot of times what will happen is people, they start bad mouthing the client because the client doesn't know what they want, blah, blah, blah. But if you
Yeah.
take the approach that you're a team member, you're a friend, you can work towards, you can overcome those types of barriers and actually come up with a better solution.
Absolutely. You need to be like a partner with them. You cannot say that they don't know this thing, they don't understand AI. As they said that if you're smartest in the class, then you are in the wrong class, right? The solution with them. They are your partner. They are sharing the data. You are sharing the model. You both are creating a great impact. So work in that way. Client will be happy, and also you will be delivering good products and gaining more trust in the journey.
Okay, so when you're talking with the clients, what type of advice do you give them to help move the conversation along and achieve what you're trying to get done?
So my suggestion to the clients is that, can you please come again with the question? Sorry.
Yeah. What advice do you give to people and companies as you're trying to get them to move along and jointly develop these solutions?
The one advice I say to the client when we pitch about AI is, don't just think that you have given this thing and then forget us. You have the money for this thing and then forget us. That's not like a collaborative success, which is the must for AI. You need to work with us. You need to give us business knowledge, direction, see whether it is matching up your standards or not, that sort of quality and expectation. Because my personal experience is there is no AI product has been developed where there is a date of judgment has been finalized and the client sees that how it is performing, and then it is taking the judgment. I don't think at all. Maybe this has been done by the C-levels and all, but the mid-level management who are responsible for that business, they should collaboratively work with us. If they do it, we'll definitely come to a goal. We'll definitely define a path which can deliver result, and it mostly happens also.
Okay.
We never move forward and take one for the first step.
Okay, so let's kind of focus on COVID-19 and how it's impacting business right now. So how has that affected what you're doing from AFRY? What have been the impacts of teleworking and working from home and not having the personal interactions with people?
The personal interactions are definitely got virtual. But yesterday we had a good team outing after meeting colleagues after 3 months and maintaining the social distancing. And I think the things are getting better. But the biggest disease, what I personally think, is the economic one.
Yeah.
Which is like the biggest thing. And right now, as soon as we get the vaccination and all, everyone will have to focus on that part. Governments are supporting it though. But AFRY being such a big organization, providing services to multiple sectors. So it's like some sectors are really growing fast, like food and pharma, or the businesses who provide essentials. So it is going down for some of the industries like automotive sector, or you can say like restaurants, or like the food and beverages, like the salad bars and all this type of industry.
Okay. So what have you put in place to ensure that your teammates or team members are fully engaged and doing what you expect them to do, since you don't see them?
Basically, we try to again develop goals, some sort of milestones. We also, there is a culture called fika in Sweden, like having a coffee and cinnamon buns and all that, something like that. So also we take up our time and try to have some like an informal conversation between us, that how is it everything going, what they are learning and all this type of thing. We should because that sort of discussion give us some sort of perspective that if someone is kind of underperforming, then maybe because of there is a small kid is there or something, like those sort of, what sort of problems they're facing. This sort of thing comes up on the informal conversation. We try to have that sort of informal conversation apart from the regular stand-ups and the business meetings.
So how
it's a good picture.
So what is the mood now with your team? Do they like the teleworking? Do they want to continue doing this way, or are they looking to come back into an office environment?
Um, as I said that it's a new normal also working from home because we cannot do anything about the situation, but also everyone like to get back to work because for few small conversation you don't want to set up a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting and take 15 minutes of time.
Yeah.
Also a kind of a facial interaction, like when you're talking discussing some ideas, you can read some faces that whether they understand that concept or not, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Maybe this is not possible in the calls because you don't get that feeling that whether they're getting it or not.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things
plus and minus.
Yeah, one of the aspects I've experienced is that if you don't have the videos turned on, people are talking, somebody will dominate the meeting and you can't break in to up. It's like when you're in a room, you can interrupt and stop the conversation, but when it's just running remotely, it's very difficult to inject comments.
Absolutely, it looks like that you're interfering or you're stopping someone. It gives a different thing altogether. I totally believe that. It happens with us too.
Yeah. So are you looking at, are you building plans now for a return to the office, or where do you see that happening?
So in Sweden, we have some summer holidays, you can say. Like people can take some summer holiday, and it starts in the June and August. It's like all Europe is closed during that. There is some talks going on that we may open up or we may come back to office after this summer if the things are control. But it depends what we will do it in Sweden, because in Austrian office have opened their office from this June onwards, so people started coming back to office from June. Sweden, we are thinking of that we may get back after summer, but it depends on the situation.
Okay. All right. So a couple of final questions before we end here. So what are your top 3 process or business concerns that bother you from an AI perspective?
Business concerns. I think I mentioned that, Henry, right? If I'm not wrong. Do you like to repeat the question, like the business concerns, like the
your top 3 challenges or concerns that bother you from an AI perspective?
Like if AI has been successfully implemented, you mean?
Well, in terms of just like with your team, just from an AFRY, I guess when you think about business and what you're trying to achieve for your group, etc., what are the things that you're concerned about?
I think we are not that much concerned with the AI taking up and how, I think it's a very positive impact AI is going to create by pushing up all our clients to Industry 4.0 revolution. The business concern, I will not say like a majorly, but what we want is that people from different sectors of the business line of businesses, they should also get themselves educated, because the best thing they have is the business domain knowledge. So maybe those sort of thing is a bit challenging to kind of advocate about AI and get everyone on board and they appreciate about AI. They should not think it is like an hype or something that it will go off. It is going to stay. AI is there to stay, right? So maybe that sort of collaborative discussion and all that sort of transformation we are working on, and we are pretty successful, but we have a long way to go now.
Okay, Prajit. So now, if you had to start your career over from scratch today, what would you do differently today than when you started out? What would you do the same?
I think, very honest, I think I'm in the right path, and I've taken the right trajectory of career, like going into this emerging tech. It's not just because I'm in emerging tech, but it's something like the future. I believe in AI a lot, and I like to take up the same path again. So thanks to God's grace, I will say, I don't have any kind of regrets. Even if there is some failure, that was learning. That's it.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. We're rapidly running out of time, and I want to honor your time. I know it's late there or later there in Sweden than it is here in Texas. So, how can people get in touch with you to learn more about you and AI and AFRY?
They can reach me out over LinkedIn, Prajit Datta, and also they can look into my organization website, AFRY. You can search in Google AFRY.com. They have multiple websites too. And they can actually drop me a message, and they can also go to my website and send me mail. My mail ID is also already mentioned there. And yeah, I'm always happy to help the community because I believe in a collective work or collective contribution.
Okay, wonderful. All right, this has been a fascinating conversation today. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today, Prajit.
Thank you so much, Henry, for the opportunity. It was nice pleasure. It was my great pleasure to have with you this conversation.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Business Performance Podcast with your business coach, Henry Schneider. For more episodes and business strategies, please visit welcome.ppqc.net/blog. That's www.welcome.ppqc.net/blog. And remember to subscribe so you can get the latest episodes. Thank you.